The year is 1999, and the new age of digital special effects is permeating all of Hollywood.
A young hero is plucked from obscurity, for he is the chosen one to free the masses from their evil overlords. No, we're not doing Phantom Menace again.
No, man.
This time, it's The Matrix.
How Star Wars is it?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Josiah.
I hear you got some sweet za on your side.
Oh, yeah. I was like literally cleaning it out of my teeth as you said, hey, Mike.
I'm super jealous of your za, man.
Yeah, it's delicious. It's from down the street. Shout out to Renali's. Oh, my God. We haven't started the podcast yet.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our bad show.
Hey, my name's Josiah, and this is Mike.
And I'm Mike.
And this is How Star Wars Is It? And this is the show where we take stuff and we're like, how Star Wars is it? And then we decide.
That's right.
But we also talk about a lot of other stuff.
Right. We want to do everything at some point. We want to rate and review every single movie, every TV show, and then other things too. You know, like we want to do, say, for instance, in fact, it's quite serendipitous that I'm holding it in my hand right now. Pizza.
Yes.
How Star Wars is pizza. How Star Wars is a hamburger. How Star Wars is sidewalk chalk.
We want to do everything, and dare I say it, we will do everything. Given enough time. And, Mike, I gotta say, we're doing The Matrix this week.
That's right, and I'm so excited because it's one I've wanted to do since we started the podcast, even more so than when I found out that you had never seen it.
Yeah, so I had never seen The Matrix, and I just watched it today. Literally earlier today, and I gotta say, this is a really cool movie. I like this movie.
Yes. I was really hoping that this episode would basically be a retread of our Men in Black episode where like I had never seen it until just like a day or two before, and there's like goo and good practical effects and kind of not great CG effects, but like interesting ones.
Yeah. I think, okay, here's the thing. I had never seen this movie, but I had culturally knew enough
like
about
been alive.
it. Yeah, so and like I've been on the internet and I read a lot of junk on the internet. And so I knew enough about this movie to where nothing was like surprising because I already knew like the twists or whatever.
Right.
So I already knew what was like gonna happen. But it was still really dope. I was like, this movie's a fun movie. Like,
totally.
I know that
and to your point about it being kind of everywhere, I think that bullet time and like the slow-mo effect of all the famous ones in The Matrix around that time, like in the next like 5 years or something, was used like 100 times in different movies and TV shows. Like I want to say bullet time is the I Am Your Father of like our generation.
Oh, absolutely. It was the new cool way to make movies. And gosh, it was, yeah. So I watched it earlier today. I rented it, and
you liked it.
And I liked it. I thought it was very cool, and I also felt kind of robbed that I didn't see this when I was younger because I feel like I would have been so into it. But it
I agree. I think I saw it for the first time like I was younger, but it was far after it came out. Like I think all three of the movies were out by the time I saw the original one, so it was probably 2004, 2005, or 2006. Well, 2007. This is how counting works.
So this movie had the unfortunate thing about like that we talked about with Men in Black, where I was not 13 when it came out. I was certainly not 17 when it came out. And so it was illegal for me to see it, and I wasn't allowed.
Right, you would have gone to jail.
I would have gone to jail. So, but it was I really. I don't know. I wasn't sure if I was going to actually like this movie because I knew a lot about it and I knew it was kind of like dated a little bit and that the acting is kind of cheesy. But I really I just liked it. It was fun. It's kind of dumb in that like don't think about it too hard kind of way. and the acting like wasn't necessarily good, but it all felt like it was the same style. Like it almost felt like they were doing like a weird, like you know how like Shakespeare requires a certain kind of acting, and I was like, I feel like the
Right.
Matrix requires a certain kind of acting.
Yeah.
Because if anybody was being too good or too realistic, I would be like, what's going on? They're taking me out of the story.
And you know what else requires that?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Absolutely. The other
Like there's a classic quote of Harrison Ford of like something to the effect of, "Hey George, you can write this shit, but you sure as hell can't say it."
Yep, exactly. So I think that already right out the gate, it's pretty dang Star Wars. And I think also this is not necessarily here nor there, but I didn't have a lot of time today to watch it, and I was like, oh, this movie's over 2 hours long. So I rented it on YouTube, and I watched the first like 45 minutes or to an hour on 1.25 speed, and then I watched the rest of it at 1.5 speed, and I gotta say, didn't really suffer for being faster. It was all very good.
Yeah, like the slow motion scenes were just regular speed.
Well, it was funny because when it was on 1.25 speed, I couldn't tell it was any different. And I was switching back and forth, and I was like, man, this is weird that I can't tell the difference. But then on 1.5 speed, I actually could tell the difference. But it also just made everything faster, and the fights were even more intense because I was like, dang, they're going so fast.
That is wild.
Yeah.
I had a friend who, like, it was his dad, but I think a number of them in their house would watch movies, like, with the captions on and, like, 1.5 times speed or whatever, just to, like, get through them quicker.
That's okay. Literally, I've done that. I don't know. I've done that for podcasts a lot. If I really just want to get through something,
Right.
I'll do like a 1.5 speed. And I did that with The Matrix just now. And I think I'm going to keep doing it for different movies because I'm like, I don't got 2 hours. Like, that's too much time. No one's got 2 hours to waste.
And you acclimate to it fairly quickly.
Yeah. But yeah, so I liked this movie. I think it was really cool. And I just sort of out the gate, I do think it's pretty dang Star Wars.
Yeah, totally. Here's a fun just behind the scenes thing. I don't know if they worked on the first one, but after The Matrix was so big and they did sequels, Mythbusters Adam Savage and Tori Belleci worked on the special effects, and they also worked on like the Star Wars prequel special effects.
Really?
Like there's like video on one of the DVDs of them like building the models at Camino, like the miniatures that they shot for the Camino scenes.
That's very
and then
neat.
there's also scenes of them building the like mecha armor suits in the Zion battle in the sequels to the movie that you just saw, and you haven't seen the sequels. And there actually aren't any sequels. Don't search them out.
I know. That's why I know the sequels are bad, and I don't remember why they're bad. But I'm like, I know they're bad, and I kind of want to watch them just because I just dug the story. But I know they're bad, and I don't really want to not ruin it because it's not going to ruin the fact that the first one was like fun and good. But yeah, I don't know if I'm ever gonna seek out those sequels.
Yeah, they have really interesting moments in the same, and I would honestly say in the same way that like the Star Wars prequels have moments that I'm like, well, that movie was bad, but this thing is a cool thing.
Yeah, totally.
They have that. Like that's what I think of the Matrix sequels as.
Okay, yes. So it's been a while, I feel like, since we've done an episode where we've actually done the thing that we're supposed to do in this show and like talk
Compare
about
a movie to
how
Star
something
Wars.
Star Wars is. So I kind of have feel like I've forgotten how to do that. I'm like, what do we do?
Right.
But so here is some things that are Star Wars and aren't Star Wars. Or I think
Hit
more
me.
that aren't Star Wars. Okay, are Star Wars. This movie
that
is
are
not,
or aren't.
that are. This
Okay.
movie is not subtle at all.
No.
And I took some notes in the beginning because I was like, I'm gonna take some notes, and then I just got into it and stopped taking notes. But like in the first, so like before he's even like in the Matrix or whatever, or no, before he's like knows he's in the Matrix, before he's in the real world, there's so many like just references to like the fact that he's the one and the fact that he's plugged in or whatever.
Right.
First being, and I texted my little brother that he keeps his money and stuff in the book Simulacra and Simulation,
Right.
which is like a philosophy book or whatever that my little brother has read. And I was like, I was like, oh, The Matrix has this book, and he was like, oh yeah, the Matrix is kind of based on that book. And I was like,
Right.
what? And then my little brother was like, yeah. And apparently my little brother had seen the Matrix and I hadn't, and I felt very like not cool.
Did he break the law?
Well, so apparently they watched it in his theory of knowledge class in high school.
Damn, that sounds like a fun class. I feel
I
like
know,
I
right?
would love that class.
And since it was rated R, they had to get like permission slips from parents to watch it. But so like I was like, okay, cool. And then the creepy guy like at the very beginning who's like with the girl that has the white rabbit tattoo,
Right.
He like calls Neo his own
You're my
personal
own
Jesus
personal
Christ.
Jesus Christ, man. Also,
he
what
says-
could have been on that disc? It cost him $2,000, which by today's standards, in terms of like software technology, it probably would have been something like Photoshop 6. Like, what could it have been for $2,000?
Yeah, that's a good question that we never get answered. And then he also says, "Sounds like you need to unplug."
Yeah, right. You gotta unplug, man.
And then the white rabbit is like a allusion to Alice in Wonderland, going down the rabbit hole, which later on Morpheus literally says like, "You're
Right.
Alice in the rabbit hole now." And like the boss at his work when he gets fired is like, or like almost gets fired. It's like, "Oh, you think you're special, huh? You think the rules don't apply to you?" And they don't. And like then Trinity, his name is Trinity, and Neo is it's pretty well known that it's an anagram of one.
I thought you were gonna say of Eon. I was like, hang on, there's got to be at least one or
Eon.
two more.
So yeah, I was like, just in the beginning, I was like, dang, this movie really is not subtle in very much in the way that they hit you over the head with it. I think similarly to how Star Wars sometimes hits you over the head with symbolism.
Right. And in the
where
same
it's
way,
just
like
not
while
subtle.
it's not subtle, it's also though not just like holding your hand at the beginning. Like it just sort of starts, and they're like, "You'll catch up," and then eventually it does kind
Right,
of
they-
exposition you to death. But like in that way that you were talking about Morpheus going like, "You must feel like Alice." Like it's just sort of like at that point, the character's job is to explain to the protagonist what's going on with him, and the way you do that is you explain what's going on, and he's still being all like cagey and poetic, like yes, you
Right.
think you're in 1999, like
Well, yeah, it definitely just jumps you into the world
Right.
and is like, you'll fit. Well, once the audience surrogate gets to the point where we have to tell them what's going on, we'll tell you what's going on. But the other thing that I feel like is not Star Wars is that I feel like the Matrix has something to say in a very specific way
Yes.
beyond like good is good and bad is
Right.
bad.
like choice and
like
agency
Yeah.
and like
Yeah, because like we've talked about before, Star Wars is very much like the good guys are good and the bad guys are bad, and there's not a lot of gray. And mostly it's just like good guys need to beat the bad guys is always like the
Right.
theme. And the Matrix is like, do our choices really matter? What is reality? Like what matters in
Right.
reality? Like do you have control of your destiny? And it's all pretty like once again, not super subtle,
Right.
but it has questions it's trying to answer that are like themes beyond, oh, bad guys are bad, you know?
yeah, and so
And I thought that was
it
interesting.
also that movie is just so tight, and there's not like a mistake in it. Like there's, I mean, like that's an overstatement, I suppose. There's probably plenty of little things, but like they worked on that movie for something like 5 years of pre-production before they shot it.
Wow.
Like that thing was just lean and mean.
That's the other thing I felt. I was like, this is a very well made movie. Like I feel like they knew what they wanted to do. They got in and out, and they made a really solid film. Which
And honestly,
I understand.
I don't need it to be very subtle if it's gonna have something to say. I don't think The Last Jedi was very subtle, and it's like the first time I saw a Star Wars movie that I left going like, that movie was about something.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think it necessarily always has to be like, what are the themes here? Let's like really dig deep. And I think that
Right.
I think having something to say at all is always a nice thing about media, and like it doesn't always have to be that way, but when it is, it's like, oh, that was nice. And
Yeah.
I think that we talked a little bit about this on the episode with Caitlin about Shark Tank, but
Coming soon.
coming soon. But we kind of talked. We didn't talk like shit about Stranger Things in the Stranger Things episode, but we were like, "Why did we like this? You know,
Yes.
what's good about it?"
Couldn't remember like why we even liked it in the first
Yeah,
place.
and when I watched season 3, I was like, "Oh, it's a good show. It's part of the reason why." But also, I felt like it also had stuff to say and like themes about like growing up and like your friends changing and you staying the same, and that all
Right.
hit me really hard. And the Matrix, I think, is once again not subtle about it, but also has, it's like, hey, I'm asking these questions and I don't necessarily have the answers, so you kind of have to like infer your own answers, you know?
Like it only shows us the door, but we have to walk through.
Damn dude, there it is. Also, like, okay, this is another, like, so I never saw The Matrix, but I remember, I think when it came out, or like shortly after it came out, when my older brother saw it, he like showed me certain parts of it that were really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I get why this movie, I feel like if this movie came out now, it might be rated PG-13 maybe.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure language had something to do with it, but even the language was fairly tame.
Yeah, because the whole thing, I was like, there's some gross visuals in the beginning and later on, but the violence is all very much to par with what we see in movies nowadays.
Yeah,
too.
like no one ever gets like their head chopped off, which happens a lot
Exactly.
in Star Wars, in fact.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, so he showed me like cool parts. So he showed me the part where Morpheus and Neo fight right after he's downloaded all the fighting styles into his
Right.
brain.
I know Kung Fu.
I know Kung Fu. He showed me that whole fight. Don't stop trying to hit me and hit me. Showed me all
Right,
that.
right.
And I was like, this is dope.
You think that's air you're
and-
breathing?
Oh, so good.
That line
it's
is
like,
great.
It's like so cool. I get it.
It is
I get
so
that it's,
cool.
It's just cool, you know?
Right. Like, did you ever at any point, I mean, like, I know that you're like an adult now and you knew of the movie, but like, did you ever at any point while watching it try to go, like, convince yourself that stuff around you wasn't real? Like, it is truly impossible to do.
So this might be a fun episode because I feel like maybe we might get into some like metaphysics here, which I love. Yes, I did not do that this time, but I also kind of am constantly am like, nothing's real, but also everything's real.
Right.
So that this movie, and also this movie. Oh, real quick, the other cool parts that my brother showed me.
yes.
Dodge this. Showed me dodge this. That was dope. Showed me the guns. He was like, we're gonna need guns, and then they're in the white room, and all the guns come,
Yeah,
and then
right.
they come into the office building and set off the
Which
metal detector.
then,
Showed me
like,
that fight scene.
Cars.com completely took that for commercials for a long time. Like, big white room,
I
and it
didn't
was
even
like,
think of
I
that.
need
That's so true.
sedans, blue sedans. And then, like, the shelves all, like, keep refining.
I didn't even think of that. That's amazing. So yeah, what were we just? Oh
You
yeah,
said
so
the
my little
whole,
brother and I,
like, lobby scene.
so those are the ones my older brother showed me, and my little brother and I have often had the conversation. So my little brother's very into philosophy, and I'm into it, but not as like well versed in it as he is.
Mm-hmm.
And so we oftentimes have a conversation where like the whole like sort of idea of the Matrix and the simulacra and simulation, the idea that like, what if we are in a simulation? You know, how does that affect our lives, or like how does that affect who you are? And I'm very much in the camp that like, I don't give a shit if we are in a simulation.
Like,
because
the Cypher was right camp.
not necessarily the Cypher is right camp. Just the fact that like, if our lives are as real in the simulation as they are in the real world, then there's no difference, you know? And
Right.
not necessarily saying I wouldn't want to wake up and know there was a real world outside of that, but like when Neo was like, I have all these memories and none of them are real, I'm like, no, they're still real, man. Like, this stuff still happened to you.
Right.
It was just in a different like world or whatever.
Right.
So I'm very much in the camp that like, when people are like, oh man, what if our whole reality is just a computer simulation somewhere? I'm like, oh, who cares?
Yeah, like, I've
still-
had a good 28 years of it so far.
Yeah, it's still as real as anything. Like, it does, my life doesn't become any less real just because I'm technically a simulation or whatever.
Right.
Which, you know, is probably what The Sims and my computer say.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, like, that's basically what, like, every Black Mirror episode is about anymore. I haven't seen the new season yet, but, like, some, like, digital consciousness is, like, trapped for eternity in its own simulation, and it's, like, aware of itself, and it's, like, that would, I think, become kind of, like, a hell. But in the Matrix, you're not like living forever, even if you are in a simulation. Like you're living a normal human life, but like you're in 1999 and there's a sunshine.
Yeah. So the other thing that I thought was really interesting about this movie is that I feel like the idea that like AI could take over and like harvest us or whatever for probably most of the 2000s was like, that's not a thing that's gonna happen. but like nowadays,
Yeah.
there is a legitimate concern. I was listening to this other podcast about different existential threats to humanity, and one of the, because like global warming, climate change is a threat, but it won't wipe out all of humanity. Like it'll just kill like 99% of us or something crazy like that.
Okay.
But like if an AI became self-aware and decided that it was in charge, like that could literally destroy all life on Earth.
Damn.
And the way they talked about it in this podcast is super similar to just what happens in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Because the metaphor they use is they're like, if there's a paperclip factory that has an AI that runs the paperclip factory and is always trying to self-improve, because that's what all our algorithms are doing now, is they're writing themselves and improving themselves. So the paperclip factory algorithm makes its best version of itself, becomes self-aware, but its main program, its main goal is to just make paperclips very efficiently.
Right.
And so however it decides to do that is how it's going to do that. So if it decides that all humans should be making paper clips, then that's what's going to happen. Or if it decides that our carbon atoms could be better used as paper clips, then that's what's going to happen. Or if it decides that we should be batteries, like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, right.
So like I feel like the sort of wacky sci-fi premise of the Matrix is now like, oh no, this could happen.
Yeah, no, it would optimize like to the extreme.
Yes, because if the Netflix and so like for instance, the Netflix algorithm, right, is always trying to give us the best, most personalized entertainment it can,
Right.
and that's its job, and that's what it knows how to do. So if it becomes self-aware, then what it's going to try to do is just entertain us as best as it can, and if that means it puts us in little pods and feeds our brains serotonin and stuff and uses our bodies as batteries, then that's what it's going to do.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
So the Matrix is real, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, completely.
People are going to be like, Josiah is gone down a conspiracy theory
Josiah
rabbit
is a
hole.
men's rights activist.
He took the red pill.
Yeah.
Or the blue pill, whatever.
A big reason why we're doing the Matrix right now, other than that this year is its 20th anniversary, and that it is
wild.
very Star Wars in general, is that I'm in a musical right now that is a parody of the Matrix, and like it is this movie, like it's the first Matrix movie, but it's a musical. So the idea of, like you said about, okay, yeah, fine, it's a simulation, but it also is real. So my character in the musical is Cypher, and the most recent time I watched it was just like maybe a couple months ago, kind of knowing that it was in preparation for this show. So I like paid extra attention to him and all of his moves and his story through his lens. And I was just like, yeah, no, this guy's the hero. Of course he's not, but like I know that I would be the like coward who's like, I miss real steak, which of course is not real. But
it is. It might as well be.
Too bad he was like treacherous. I mean, I'm too bad. I'm like trying to like be sympathetic for him because I'm playing the character. It's not too bad. He's a weasel and a fucking like narc. But like,
He's a total narc.
If there were a way for me after I took the red pill to like go back, I think I probably would.
See, I think that like, I mean, I hate that like MRAs and dumb, evil, stupid incel, like beta cuck, whatever,
right,
dumb male guys on the internet are like, they've co-opted the red pill to be like, wake up, man, like feminism is bad and like men are oppressed. And it's like, guys, you're the worst.
But leave it to white men on the internet to ruin everything. You know what else
true.
they did?
Oh yeah, Star Wars, huh?
Yeah.
Damn, we're really coming back to this is pretty dang Star Wars in a lot of ways.
I know. I mean, I'm having a hard time making a case against it other than your classic, if you put Star Wars in front of it, would you believe it? And to a dumb person who isn't actually watching the movie but just sort of seeing the special effects, yeah, maybe, possibly.
That's true. The wild thing about this movie is I feel like the Wachowski siblings. Is that how you say their last name? Wachowski?
I think it's Wachowski, but
Wachowski.
I said Wachowski for a long time.
I feel like the Wachowskis could have made. I feel like if the Wachowskis were making a movie when George Lucas was making a movie, they might have made Star Wars, and vice versa. If George Lucas was making movies or was their age and being an auteur, however you say that, auteur. He might have made the Matrix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like they are similar.
Spiritually similar.
Yes, especially since they made their magnum opus kind of not right out the gate, but pretty immediately were very good, and then have literally never lived up to their original promise.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck, dude. This movie is Star Wars.
Yeah, this movie is very it is incredibly Star Wars in everything but the name, like you just said. You couldn't.
Yeah.
Even if my grandma saw this, she'd probably be like, "Where's the lightsabers?" And I'd be like, "Oh, dang it, grandma."
Yeah, no, this isn't okay. Man, dude.
But dang, it's a fun movie though, isn't it?
Such cool effects and choreography to it.
The fights are so good.
They're so good. It's just mind-blowing how good the fights are. You know what? Of all the fights, there's all the guns and the flips and explosions and stuff. Of all the fight moments, I think my favorite, and this just goes to show how well choreographed this movie is the moment where Neo throws a punch at Agent Smith and Smith blocks his hand, and then Neo extends his fingers to choke Smith.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God. I think that is almost that might be cooler than the bullet dodge.
Yeah, it's great, and I was watching that on 1.5 speed, so I was like, damn. That part is so dope as hell, and the choreo for okay. I think that there are sort of two schools of thought when it comes to really dope fights in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they have to either be in one of these camps in order to be really effective.
Yeah, I think I even know where you're heading with this.
Yeah, so I think there's the hyper, the more realistic, hard-hitting fights.
Right, the Daredevil Netflix show.
Literally exactly the example I was going to use.
Or even Born Identity, that there's some choreography to it, but it feels heavy and difficult.
And sort of your Dark Knight fighting, and
it
feels like a real person fighting, even though it is choreographed and really dope to watch. It is, and I think those fights end up being very, very cool. And then there's the other end of the spectrum where it's the Matrix, where it is they're on wires, they're going into bullet time. It's heavily
comic
choreographed
book panels.
Yes, and it's so fucking fun to watch because it looks
fun
amazing.
To watch. Yeah, it's why you would watch wrestling,
exactly,
pro wrestling. It's just people dressed so kind of ridiculously, they're all wearing long coats and tight leather and spandex. It's it doesn't make any sense to be wearing what they're wearing. And sunglasses inside, which is also kind of Star Wars. Why were the Jedis always wearing robes? This is hindering you. It just kind of looks cool.
It does. Yeah, it's just a cool, well-made movie.
Yeah, good.
What's mind-boggling too is the effects in this movie aren't necessarily leaps and bounds better than, say, the effects in Phantom Menace, but these movies came out the same year.
Same year, yeah.
Which is wild to think of because this feels so much, I don't know, more creative than
and it feels
that.
it holds up. I can't think of CGI in the Matrix, the first one specifically, that doesn't work still now. It was used very tactically, very
totally
sparingly. And whereas Jar Jar was a whole character.
Exactly, totally.
But yeah, have you ever seen any of the, I know that you only just saw the movie for the first time today, but have you ever seen any of the like behind the scenes of how they shot those tricks where like the camera goes around them while they're frozen in air or whatever?
No.
There's the when Neo and Smith are like, they like lunge at each other and they're in midair and like they're both shooting their guns. That scene is the one that comes to mind. I think the bullet dodge might be one too. That's on like the DVD extras, and they're just in the 360 room of green screen, and there are something like 50 to 100 cameras all just positioned in the like all around the room in the motion that a film camera would be taking, like if it were like a crane shot or a dolly shot or whatever, and they pull the two guys up on wires, and then they just fire all those cameras off like one after another in rapid succession, and then they have 100 different pictures, and then they just composite them together. It's
That's
so
wild.
sick. It is so cool.
I love that too, because they could have just been like, and this is not to shit on George Lucas necessarily, but if he was making that movie at that time, he would have been like, well, we'll go ahead and do this all green screen, all effects. Right. You know what I mean? Like he would have thrown and did like the lightsaber battles in Phantom Menace are pretty dope as well. Right. But for a scene like that, they'd have been like, let's just do this digitally. And it's cool that they did it digitally as well as like using very neat camera techniques to pull off what they wanted to do.
Well, and even that's kind of Lucas, because Lucas basically invented the special effects world of today.
That's very
for
true.
the sake of like, I want to make the movie I want to see, and I need to essentially invent certain cameras for that. And, like ILM did that, but he was sort of responsible for it coming into existence.
Once again, I feel like they are similar, like auteurs. I don't know how to say that word, and I keep saying it, but
I think
French,
it's Arthur.
They're both definitely Arthur from PBS. Dang, we've already been talking for 30 minutes.
I know, it's crazy because like I've only just said how much I like this movie, and I think we are being like, we are discussing it and we are being somewhat engaging with one another, but I don't know if it's been like fun or funny. It's just like two guys in their late 20s going like, dude, The Matrix rocks.
Dude, it's a good movie. It's cool. Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's so cool. You guys, you gotta see. Have you ever seen Forrest Gump? Have you ever seen Silence of the Lambs?
Right, just like finding a very popular movie and being like, yeah, it is good.
Guys, I have a crazy take, but like, I think the movie The Matrix is awesome.
It was pretty dope. It made me want to watch more movies, because I feel like I don't watch movies very much these days.
Right, especially ones I've like missed.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like,
if I've missed out on them,
I've
missed out on them.
Yeah, right. Like, I know it through culture, so why would I see it at this point? But I'm so glad I watched Men in Black.
That was the other thing I thought that was interesting about this movie, is because like it didn't waste any time either in the way that like, because I knew all the beats, but I didn't know how they fit together, and it very much was like, we got to get Neo. All right, because I thought the movie was going to be a longer thing of him like figuring out that he was in the Matrix and stuff, but literally like first 20 minutes, it's like boom, all right, he knows it. Let's do this. And like with Cypher, you're like, this guy seems a little shady. And then immediately after he's kind of shady to Neo, it's like, yep, he's the bad guy. And I was like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah, right. Because
like
there's so much like world you have to understand that. Yeah. And I wonder, and it might be because you are probably particularly good at watching movies, and also you kind of knew what The Matrix was before you saw it, but I bet someone who has never seen or heard of this movie watching that wouldn't necessarily pick up on like how hard they're hitting you over the head from the jump, because they're trying to like piece shit together as it is being told to them, like
right. I feel like I feel like in 1999, the first time you see it, you're probably much more like, whoa, what's this cool new kind of world I'm being put into?
Right.
And
like, have you seen The Prestige?
No, but I also know what happens in The Prestige.
Right. I mean, like, that will color it for you, but like that movie is told in like chunks, and it's not like A to B linear, like start to finish. Like, you see chunks in different time pieces, and then the second time you watch it, it's like, oh my god, it was right in front of me the whole time. But like, it's because you then know the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I definitely think, and like that's one of the, I guess, sort of the downsides of like being on the internet and just sort of absorbing culture in the background all the time, is that I do know what happens in Prestige. I know the twist to Sixth Sense, even though I've never seen it. Like, I know that Neo's the one, and I know that like later on in the series he's very much the one in a lot of dumb ways.
Yeah.
So like I know I just like it's kind of the drawback of that is that I don't get to be, I guess, as surprised necessarily, but I think it's still fun to consume those kind of things. Because I guess, because instead of having to watch it the second time to be able to pick up on it, it's sort of like the first time you go around, you're like, oh, okay, okay.
Well, especially, like if it is a movie with like a huge rewatch value. Like I would watch The Prestige right now, and I've seen it probably 5 or 6 times.
I'd honestly watch The Matrix again right now. Like I kind of was like, should I go ahead and rent the next 2 just so I can like experience the world a little more? And then I was like, no, I shouldn't. But let's go to the pit real quick, and then we've got a special segment when we come back.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Okay, here we go. I'm jacking into the Sarlacc pit.
Jack into the pit.
Okay, now that the ad break's over, I can jack back off.
Oh no!
Huh? Oh, ad, we're back.
Oh no! Oh yeah, and we're back.
Ad, we're jack.
And we're jacked. And we're Jack, that Robin Williams movie that made me cry.
See, I haven't seen that one.
I think that one's called Jack.
That's where he's a clown and he works at a hospital?
No, that one's called Clown Hospital.
Oh, okay.
I actually can't remember the name of that damn movie.
That's called Patch Adams.
Thank you. I was like, what is the name of that movie? Okay, so Mike, you did a special fun sort of game segment.
Yes.
That we are going to drop in here in a second. But do you want to set it up for us?
Here
about
will be
kind of what
the
it's all
setup,
about?
and then I'll throw it over to Mike Gospel in the field. I, as I mentioned earlier, am in a musical version of The Matrix, and it opens here in Chicago August 2nd, and it runs through all of August, and like on weekends. I, at rehearsal this week, was able to talk to some of the cast and crew of The Matrix Musical Parody, to interview them and get some insights and thoughts from them about the classic film, The Matrix. So here's Mike at the Second City Training Center, talking to some of his cast and crew friends at rehearsal. Take it away, Mike.
Take it away.
How Star Wars is it?
This is Mike Gospel on the scene at rehearsal for The Matrix Musical Parody that opens on August 2nd at the Den Theater in Chicago. I, of course, am in the show. I play Cypher, who is, pretty much the main character, but I'm also going to talk to some of the rest of the cast and crew and ask them questions about their rehearsal process and get people pumped up to come and see this play. This is Bruce Phillips, who is Agent Smith in The Matrix Musical Parody. He is also at Hitchcock Tales at the Annoyance. Bruce, my question for you. Hugo Weaving has played lots of iconic roles. What are some of them?
Well, he was Elrond in Lord of the Rings.
I don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure he was. Do you not know this movie, Lord of the Rings? Lord of the Rings.
I'm not into that nerd shit.
It's a...
Okay, that was Bruce. This is Bree Fitzpatrick. She is in Anarchy with me and Josiah, and she is playing Trinity in The Matrix Musical Parody. And Bree, my question for you is, as Trinity, do you know there's lots of religious themes in The Matrix?
Yeah, I'd noticed a couple.
Do you know the Trinity?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm here now with John Monteverdi, the music director and composer of and I have to ask you a question. Could you, without playing the note, sing a middle C? And now let's see if that's right. Oh, fuck, he got it. This is Laura Marsh. She wrote The Matrix Parody Musical. And Laura, I have a very important question for you.
Okay.
I've been wanting to ask you it this whole process. Have you seen The Matrix?
Wait, what is it?
The movie from 1999?
A movie from 1999 called
It's called The Matrix.
The Matrix?
Can you not hear my
No,
pronunciation?
what did you say?
The
Tricks?
The Matrix.
The Matrix?
Have you seen that?
What's it about?
Okay, everybody, this has been Mike Gospel live on the scene. This is Mike Gospel on the scene of rehearsal. This is the Act 1 finale. What you can't see right now is the choreography, but it is so cool. I am here now with Sheena Laird, the choreographer extraordinaire of the one. Sheena, I have to ask you a question. Can you complete this phrase for me?
Sure.
5, 6, 7.
10.
There you have it. Okay, I'm here now with Liz Anderson. She is playing the woman in the red dress and a dozen other characters.
Ensemble. For sure.
Yeah, and she has her own very successful podcast, Paired. You can get it anywhere you get podcasts.
Yeah.
So my question for you, Liz, is how'd you do that? How'd you get such a good show? We've been doing this for so long. It's so bad.
No, I thought this was about Matrix.
The podcast is, but like the episode is, but like ours, we got like 40 listeners.
Oh,
How we get more?
No, but I think you if you want to you can send press release. Are you okay?
Huh? No. Yeah. Bruce made fun of me for not knowing who Elrond was. He's an elf. This is Sean Ricker. He plays Neo in the Matrix musical parody. Say hi.
Hello.
Now, there's an iconic scene in The Matrix where Neo dodges bullets and he like bends over backwards and stuff. Will you do that for me right now, please?
Sure, yeah. Check this out.
Oh, sick! Oh, that's fucking cool! Wow!
You seriously never heard of Elrond?
This is the director, CJ Tour, who is also the star of Lakeshore and Limbo, his own awesome podcast out on the internet. And CJ, I've been meaning to ask you this question. Have you seen The Matrix?
I'm sorry?
The movie?
The movie?
Yeah.
The show, Mike, Mike, you did a lot of good work, but,
No.
we're gonna have to go a different direction.
No, please, no!
Of somebody
Oh,
good.
please! I'm sure he was just kidding around. I think I'm still in the show. Well, that's all from me here at rehearsal. The one opens on August 2nd, and I'm definitely gonna be in the show. And this has been Mike Gospel with How Star Wars Is It? Back to you.
How Star Wars is it?
Well, that was something. Thanks,
And
Mike.
we're back.
And we're back again.
So, Mike, as always, asking the hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, I'm a journalist.
You are now. We are going to do a press
guess.
release, so we might as well be journalists.
Oh, yeah, right.
So, I think we've talked a lot about how The Matrix is cool and good, and it's also, and I think we've done a pretty good job of talking about how it is pretty Star Wars along the way.
Hey, speaking of cool and good and Star Wars, I just have like one fun little piece of color that I think you'll appreciate. It does not have songs in the way that Star Wars does. It has some songs. And of course, the Matrix musical parody, has a bunch of bangers in it. But the intro where it's like the WB title card and the music is like...
Yeah.
That is the same thing that happens at the beginning of The Matrix Reloaded and then subsequently The Matrix Revolutions. But each successive movie, it's modulated up a half step.
Oh.
Isn't that kind of interesting?
That is weird and very interesting because like it feels like it's too specific where they had to have done that on purpose.
Oh, they absolutely did, but like who would ever know? Obviously the internet figured it out because that's how I learned it, but
and also why? Like what's the
like
that's
this
cool,
is the
but
second one.
Why?
Right, I know. It makes me wonder like if that gets done in any other movies. Like at the beginning of The Two Towers, is it instead of do 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 it's do 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 do.
That okay.
I might have gone up much higher than a half step. I don't know.
I think we did a whole step instead on accident. So speaking of going up by half steps and whole steps, so people who aren't music people might not, this might be all Greek to them, but you can tell whenever something is in a different key because it sounds higher or lower, blah blah blah, whatever. So one of my siblings are all musicians and singers as well, and so we have a game we play, especially during the holidays. Games mostly where we mostly during the holidays, because we'll take like a carol, like a Christmas carol or whatever, and one person sings the melody, and then two other people will start with the melody, but then one, or like start at the same pitch as the melody, but then one person will go up in like a chromatic scale, like by half steps, and the other person will go down in a chromatic scale by half steps. So so the person's trying to sing the melody while there's an ascending and descending chromatic scale going on at the same time.
That sounds very horrible and hard.
It is awful to hear, and we never make it very we never make it very far because we always just start laughing because it sounds so bad. Which is weirdly most of our games that we play with music is where we just do something that sounds bad and then we laugh about it because we're like, this sounds so bad.
That's funny. It's not similar to that, but I also do a dumb game with my sister that is music and sounds bad. If I'm ever playing something on piano, I will not finish a phrase, so like whatever the chord I'm on like doesn't resolve, and then she'll like actually physically come over and like play whatever the tonic root chord was, just to be like,
I actually love doing that. Like, one of my favorite jokes is finishing a song and then just being like, nah, like doing the 7,
yeah,
but like the
leaving
minor
them
7,
hanging,
and it's like, haha,
right.
Take that.
Right.
It's so dumb, and I love it.
So stupid.
Music jokes. I love music jokes.
Yeah, I guess. Another fun thing to do is if someone else is playing the keyboard, is going over to the pitch bend dial and going.
Yeah, that is also very fun.
I'm trying to think of things that aren't Star Wars about this movie, other than that, it takes place like quote on Earth.
Right.
And I'm not coming up with a lot.
Oh, another thing I wrote down that I forgot about till just now. Does this movie take place? Is the Matrix in Chicago?
Oh yes. So
they
are
say
from here
when they're saying like street names, like in a list, like I specifically recognize. He's like, oh, there's a phone at Wabash and Lake, and I was like, that's Chicago.
That's right. Yes, so the Wachowskis are from here. They shot it in Australia, but they wanted it to look like New York City-ish, and the names are all Chicago.
Yeah, so
the idea is it's like City of America. Like, it's never necessarily identified as one specific city or not, which is, I think, another kind of fun little Matrix-y thing. Like, there's a lot of fun things on rewatch and rewatch and rewatch, or like watching stuff on YouTube or whatever, that you see that, like, again, it's not necessarily subtle, but there's all these things that it's just sort of like, oh yeah, nothing was ever kind of exactly right here from the beginning. Like, everything is kind of green because they like color corrected the whole movie that takes place in the Matrix as green, like you're inside of a kind of retro computer.
Sure.
And like the window washer scene that Neo the whole or the boss telling him you think you're special or whatever, there's that window washer, and like the suds on the window kind of looks like the digital rain code of the Matrix, like in form alone, but like it's raining when they take the bug out of him. Like, there's a lot of just like repeated, if nothing else, just sort of visual motifs that's really cool. But like, he's distracted the whole time by the falling code and never thinks everything is exactly right, and they always, like, the whole movie just sort of feels kind of off until you figure out why.
That it's off on purpose, right?
Did you know that the like club they go to that Rob Zombie is playing, those were all just like that scene of people in, I guess, Australia, like the sort of like leather bondage club goers. Like, they were just like, come and party and we'll film it.
That's amazing.
It's so wild to me. Like, I think they have such an eye for like aesthetics, which is another George Lucas Star Wars thing, that like they were comic people and martial arts dorks, and then they're like, this is the thing. Like, they had a very clear vision from the get-go, and it did not stray.
Yeah. Which I think is very much original Star Wars too.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like this movie is very much original trilogy in a lot of ways, and maybe not as prequely.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there is a vision, they do execute it very well, and then I mean, we're talking about just this movie, so not
That's
necessarily
right.
the sequels, but the fact that they do have sequels that don't like live up is also very Star Wars.
That's
which I think
true.
I don't know if we mentioned that before or in the recording or not. I know I
Right.
said it earlier.
Right.
But yeah, like just culturally, everything, it really hits a lot of the points as well as content wise.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, that's a good point. Culturally, like, everybody has heard the word Jedi or, like, use the Force or I am your father. And, like, obviously everybody does the, like, their take of the, like, slow motion back bend bullet dodge thing. And, like,
I
even
remember
red
people
pill and blue pill. And
I remember people like actually doing like the running on walls thing and doing like the flip off the walls, like trying to do that a
Right.
lot.
Right.
Especially like
God, that scene
after
rocks.
this movie came out, like this movie culturally had a huge impact, and people still stay like Jack into the Matrix, hack into the Matrix, all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
Like it's just there, It's
Anytime
it's
someone says
cultural.
deja vu, I'm like, what did they change?
No, oh no. Yeah,
we haven't even talked about the Oracle. She's awesome.
she's dope. Also, I thought it was a cool twist on the whole chosen one shtick for her to tell him he wasn't the one, because in order to actually be the one, he had to think that he wasn't.
Right.
I thought that was kind of cool, because I feel like most of the time with chosen one stories or whatever, the person finds out very early on, and then they just like they don't want to be the one, but they're like, oh, I hate that I have to do this.
Right.
And he was just like, well, I'm not, so I guess I can just do whatever.
Yes,
Which
right.
is how that it had to go, and I'm like, that's kind of a fun little twist.
Right. All the good guys and the bad guys are men except for one, and she's kind of just cool but doesn't have much of a character. That's kind of Star Wars.
Oh yeah, and there's one black guy. Well, I guess there's one black guy
Tank
in the
and
Matrix,
Dozer.
and there's Tank and Dozer. There's one man of color who's like a main character, and you've got Tank and Dozer who's sort of ancillary characters.
Right. I
but
love
yeah, one
Tank.
woman.
He's so charming in that movie.
That's what I was gonna say. I was actually gonna say that earlier when we were talking about the acting. I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like he probably was like the most, like maybe did the best
Yeah.
job. Him and Cypher felt the most like real people.
Right. When
I
Morpheus
almost-
kind of snaps out of being held captive or whatever, and he's like, Tank, I need an exit or whatever, and Tank just goes, God damn, it's good to hear your voice, sir. I love that part.
Yeah. He's very charming, and I'm glad he didn't die.
Speaking of line reads, there's a Cypher moment where I think he didn't do the, like, I wish they had maybe directed the take differently. It's so stupid. It's one word, but like, because I've watched this movie so many times, I've like heard it and been like, well, that's not exactly right. He's explaining the code to Neo. Like, he's like, is that the Matrix? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, is it always in code? And I forget exactly what the words are, but the idea is when like you can watch people fight in the construct because it's like their own video game hard downloaded to their computer, but the Matrix is live and it's just so big that it has to all be coded or whatever for rendering's sake. But the way he says it is like the read ought to be like, yeah, we have the view screens for when you're in the construct, but in the Matrix it's just too big, blah blah blah, or whatever. But the way he read it is like the construct would be the operative word there to kind of lean into, and the way he says it is, yeah, we can watch you on the viewing screen when you're in the construct, but in the Matrix you blah 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 blah. And it doesn't sit right. Maybe it's like a complete like over critique on my part, but like it's techno babbly stuff, in the way that Harrison Ford is like, this is all nothing, just like punch it Chewie. Like that. It's like they probably were just like, he said all the words. Let's just like print
he said
that
all the words.
take.
It's fine. So real quick, I just want to like get into some metaphysics bullshit.
Yes.
And some I guess some quantum bullshit too. Whatever. Who cares? Here's the thing, guys. For everybody who's worried that we might be in a simulation, the energy output that it would take, which they kind of get into in the movie, where they're like, the human body's a good battery, which it isn't. That's another funny thing that like I was reading about a long time ago, was that like the robots' plans to use humans as batteries is like absurdly inefficient.
Interesting.
Because they're like, oh, we produce more energy than a 12-volt battery, which isn't very much. Like,
right.
it's very inefficient to like, I guess, harvest humans in the way that the robots do. But they also say they're like using this in like fusion, they're able to do this whatever
Yeah,
stuff.
and
it's like, well, then they
fusion.
should just be using the fusion. Like, why if they can
That's like
achieve
the Kumail Nanjiani joke about the street drug called cheese, which is Tylenol PM and heroin. Just
Yeah.
do the heroin.
just do the heroin. Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're going to use humans and also fusion, just, you know how to do nuclear fusion, just do that. That's way better. But so that was something else in the podcast that talked about, was like, if we are a simulation, like, the amount of energy it would take to simulate our universe is like absurd. And also the amount of like heat runoff, like, computers need coolers
Right.
that are that big, and so like the amount of computers and computing power it would take to render like even just the human brain is already something that we can't really do, and would
That's
take
so
a
funny to
ridiculous
think
amount
about.
of computing power. And if it was going to do that with literally every human and also the entire like observable universe, it would have to take a computer that's so advanced we can't even really comprehend it. So the odds aren't great that we're in a simulation, but also the odds are very good that we're in a simulation, because all it would take is one like little teen somewhere in this future society to figure out how to do it, and all of a sudden we are in a simulation. So I just wanted everyone to know that, to give them some sort of existential angst, so that way they can feel how I feel every freaking night whenever I think about that. So I think we're getting a little close to maybe we should give us a score.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what my thing ought to be.
I think mine's going to be ladies in red dresses.
That's a big part of our show. Basically, every like iconic thing in the Matrix, which is like dozens, are like full numbers.
That's true.
Oh, hey, two fun, interesting details. That scene, the woman in the red dress scene, all the people walking by, you know, they're all basically in black and white, and then they're not like literally in grayscale, but they're wearing black clothes or white clothes, and then the lady in red walks by. They wanted that scene to look like the program itself had to just populate an area so that it like duplicated a bunch of the same body, you know, like in Disney animation, like the 3D digital animation, like you see a lot of like the same character model. Essentially, that was the idea. They wanted it to look like that, so everybody walking by in that scene has another person who looks just like them also in that scene. They cast all twins.
Whoa,
isn't that weird?
That is very weird.
Like, you don't
and such
even
an interesting
like
way to
perceive
accomplish
that really. But like if you watch, you can see clips of that on YouTube. And then another fun, interesting thing that was a sort of behind the scenes thing that got cut, but it's especially interesting knowing sort of like the trajectory of the Wachowskis. The character Switch was so named because in an earlier draft of the script, she was like in the Matrix was a he, but in the real world was a she, or possibly vice versa. And then, like, because there's already so much confusing shit going on, they were just like, let's make everybody look basically like they do now, but, like, in cooler clothes. As to not confuse people further. But I thought that was interesting.
That's very cool. They're sort of writing in those trans narratives before they, like, came out as trans, which is very interesting.
Yes. Okay, but back to rating it out of 10.
Yeah, I'm doing, so what's your unit of measurement?
I'm gonna say like those little bugs that you put in someone's belly button.
Yeah, that would gross me out.
It's
real
so
hard.
gross.
There was a lot of body horror in the first like 20 minutes of the movie where I was like, this is gross.
And when that like he says when they suck that out of him with like the gun thing in the car, he goes, Jesus Christ, that was real. But on like TNT or whatever, when the Matrix is always on cable, the edit is Jeepers Creepers, that was real.
Jeepers Creepers. So okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say it's an 8. I think it's pretty dang Star Wars.
Damn. Did you have a thing? Oh yeah, you said
8 women in red.
Women in red, right? So because you said 8, I hate giving things a 7. I feel like we give everything a 7, but because you said 8, I will say 7. Little bug droids, so that the podcast collectively gave it a 7.5.
Yeah, I think that's probably safe.
Yeah, because I agree. It's like so friggin' Star Wars, but like it doesn't have a lightsaber or a Death Star, so.
So yeah, it's hard to give it that full 9, you know,
Right.
or 10. But yeah, I mean, I think this is I feel like the first episode in a while where we've actually like analyzed
Like
something,
wanted to
which is
talk about the
interesting.
movie. Yeah.
But cool. So guys, go see the Matrix parody musical that Mike is in.
Yes.
I really wish I was in town so I could see it because it sounds like it's going to be a blast. And all the people involved are very cool and a blast.
Yeah,
so
it's
go see it.
super fun. It's at the Den Theater in August.
So go see it, everybody.
And if you
Get out
want
there.
us on the internet,
Yeah, if you want us.
we are at A Good Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Mike Gospel. Josiah's at the Josiah Man.
We are, so Mike misspoke. We are at How Star Wars Is It on Twitter and Instagram.
What did
but
I
our
say?
email is, you said A Good Podcast.
Oh, fuck.
But our email is agoodpodcast@gmail.com. So
God
that
damn
is
it.
still, that is still true. Damn it, Mike. What's everyone going to think now? They're going to be so confused.
And let's see what else. Oh, make sure you go ahead and give us a 5-star rating, please.
Yeah, you better.
And tell your friends to both give us a 5-star rating and to listen to the show. If you like the show, give us a like and a subscribe, and show your friends how to subscribe.
That's right. And
I
do
still
it
think
for
that's
them.
like so funny and cute.
Yeah, do it for them, and also delete all the other podcasts from their app.
That's right.
Because we are going to be the only one.
Right.
Awesome. Well, I think it's about time for Toby Bye
I
Bye.
think it is.
Every time that fucking kills me.
It sucks.
So, it sucks. So, like we always say,
We love you. And
may the fourth be with you. Bye.
Bye.
Man, should I watch the Matrix sequels?
Um,
Are they fun?